What we eat isn't just about food. It's about identity, memory, and the stories we were raised with. In this conversation, Tammy from Everglo Wellness Podcast shares her personal journey towards a plant-based lifestyle and the psychological, cultural, and emotional shifts that came with it. We talk about the power of nutrition for women over 40, the compassion that fuels conscious choices, and how food can become a mirror for self-awareness and healing. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Soft Power Project. Today, we have Tammy. She's a wellness mentor all about plant-based nutrition. She's also the host of Everglo Wellness Podcast and helping women 40 plus to thrive. I absolutely love her content, and she's a fantastic podcaster as well. And I'm so happy you get to join me today. Hi, Tammy.
Yes. Hey, nice to be here. I'm so honored.
I'm so honored. I've been wanting to have this conversation, and today is really going to be about your journey to become vegan, but also like the psyche of it, and because you know so much about food, and I never consider myself a foodie, but I know you are. I think lately I'm getting more and more interested in food, and I wanted to talk more about that and kind of like the psychology behind food as well. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, like, what's your journey like? How did it get started with being a vegan?
Yeah, honestly, it's been a long journey that started, funny enough, when I was really young. So I was sitting at the breakfast table when I was about 7 or 8, and I clearly remember there was this bowl of dry cereal in front of me, and my mom, she went over to get the milk, and as she was walking back, something happened in my mind, and I was like, wait a minute, that milk came from a cow. And I was like trying to I was like, okay, would I put my mouth up to like one of those udders and drink? And I was like, absolutely not. So I just told her no to the milk. And so that kind of was that. And then not long after that, she's in the kitchen with this big turkey on the counter. This is like within the same probably year. Yeah. So she has her hand all up in this turkey, pulling all these guts out. And I was like, okay, that's the end of turkey. So that was that journey. And then a couple years went by, and we're sitting at the dinner table, and on my plate, my mom cooked from home a lot. There was like veggies and something else, maybe another side item, and then these 2 slabs of ham that were like really thick. And I looked down, and all I could see was a pig. This poor pig was cut in half. So I discreetly put that ham in my lap, hoping I wouldn't be noticed. Yeah. And as soon as I could seize the moment, I ran upstairs and flushed it down the toilet. And yeah, I got in a little bit of trouble, but they never really forced me to eat food, which was good. But several years went by. I did continue to eat chicken and meat, red meat, because, we live in the South and this is the culture, and I didn't know. I mean, I knew I needed to eat. So anyway, I got married pretty young. So around age 21, I thought I'm going to make some meatballs be a good wife. And so I got the ground beef and all the things like my mom. And then I started to put my hands in it, and kind of like how she did. And again, my mind goes straight to the cow. I'm like, I have my hands in this ground up cow, and I had blood in my fingernails, and, it was just horrible. And so that was the end of red meat. So by now chicken's the only one left. And anyway, it's just like all these little things, and I could go on, but chicken was the end of chicken, because I was like trying to cut the tendon out of these chicken tenders, and it just did me in. So finally, I'm like, I announced to my mom and dad, I went over to their house and I announced I'm becoming vegetarian. I cannot do this meat thing. So many years went by, and I ended up getting divorced and remarried, and I always wanted to be vegan because I didn't like the idea of cheese, I knew, but it's like,
Right.
gosh, it was so powerful. That cheese is so
Mhm.
good, and I couldn't give it up.
Mhm.
Finally, I read a book. I was probably around age 40, so I was probably around your age, and this is about 11 years ago. I read a book by Kimberly Snyder called The Beauty Detox, and it went into more of the health side of things. My mind was made up about, I was like, I am not touching meat, all that. But then she went into the health side of things, and she did mention a lot about cheese and how our bodies really aren't made to digest it and all of that. So I gave it up. I was like, okay, that did it for me. And she also had a bunch of recipes as well in that book. So that was helpful. About a month later, my husband and I attended a seminar at our church. It was like a 4-night where the lady would cook plant-based meals. She would go into, while we were eating, she would go into the whole health side of things. She did touch on animal agriculture and that kind of stuff as well, but it was more the health aspect. And so that just 100% solidified to me. And my husband actually, he was on board as well. So that was good because prior to that, we were a segregated household when it came to cooking. He would do his meat and all of that. And that's pretty much the journey that led me. That was in 2014. And we both have been vegan 100% since then. Yeah. Now,
Wow.
it's not all
Yeah.
been sunshine and rainbows. So
Right.
we may talk a little about that, but yeah. So
Right.
that's in essence, that's pretty much the journey. So
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned something that I've always found it really fascinating is that culture, right? I think food has so much to do with culture. And, I think for majority of the people, when we think of American food, the culture, it's all about big, juicy steak. I think for a lot of people, meat is a really big part of that culture.
mhm.
So do you always have you ever felt like you're like a rebel, like you're someone that just doesn't
Yeah,
fit in?
yes. Outcast would be a great, you know,
Yeah.
a great term to use in this case. We do feel very isolated sometimes because we're not the norm. We do, yeah, rebel would be a good, yeah, I like that term too. Because like you say, 4th of July, it's the hamburgers and hot dog. It's like every holiday is based around some kind of meat, and the restaurants, it's like, in fact, my husband was just at the Miami airport and there was nothing.
Yeah.
He was trying so hard to find something, and it's just a culture that's built so heavily around unhealthy foods. I'm just going to put it out there. So, yeah. And I'm not trying to say meat is unhealthy, but for sure, I mean, it's tough. That has been a big struggle. Social events, traveling, and there's been other struggles as well, learning how to eat properly on a vegan diet because you can gain weight very quickly. We both did. Well, mine was more of a gradual with perimenopause and just not tweaking the diet exactly right. You can easily gain weight. So, yeah. Believe it or not. Yeah, people think, "Oh, I'm gonna go vegan. I'm gonna lose all this weight." Well, if you don't do it right, yeah, you can gain a little bit of weight, so
Most people think that going vegan, going vegetarian, healthy, I'm gonna be so skinny, I'm gonna be lean. But I think that what happens a lot, and that happened to me as well when I'm trying to explore how to be more vegetarian, I end up eating a lot of these like fake meat and a lot of processed food as well. So tell me about that journey. Like, how do you find the right vegan food for you?
yeah, so with all the processed meats, you have to be very careful because when you look on the nutrition information, you'll notice, it's got the saturated fat, it's got, the high sodium and all of that, so you just have to be careful. I think they have their place. I use them on occasion, like if I need a quick meal or that, something like that. And they're a great gateway tool to use if you're trying to get away from meat, but you don't want to become reliant on those things for every single meal. It's just not healthy. So we've learned to cook with tofu for our protein, tempeh, seitan. I do cook from home a lot. So for people that are busy, it's a struggle. So you have to do planning. You have to plan ahead. I typically will make my dinners, but that will also be lunch the next day. So that saves a lot of time. Sometimes if I make a big pot of like chili or soup or something like that, it can go for several meals and not just like two. That's kind of been our journey, is just learning to eat more whole foods based, and, just lots of fresh veggies. I would consider it to be a Mediterranean diet, honestly, just without the fish and the chicken and stuff like that. That's pretty much how we eat, is very fresh foods. Frozen, of course. We do frozen because that is more budget conscious as well. You get all of the nutrients in those frozen veggies too, and fruits. And yeah, canned veggies are good if you need to do that as well. So on a budget. It's the nutrition space is so confusing. It's like there's so much information out there, and it can be so overwhelming in a way. So I think just keeping it simple and eating foods that were created on this earth for us, and not relying on those ultra processed foods, is kind of, if we can do that, that's the most ideal. So,
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that I would like to unpack there, but kind of going back to what you were saying before, the journey itself is not all sunshine and
yeah.
rainbow. And also, you did mention that you kind of feel like an outcast
Hmm.
sometimes, especially
Hmm.
during the holidays, I can imagine.
Yes.
So, what are kind of the most challenging aspect of this journey to this day that you still needed to kind of work with the system?
Yeah, exactly. We have definitely gotten many tools in our toolbox through the years, because we've been at this for, well, I've been vegetarian for so long, but that's easier. It's like easier to
Mm.
be vegetarian than vegan. We've learned, like, before social events, for instance, it's like we've learned to eat a big meal beforehand, and then if it's somewhere where people are bringing food to like someone's house or something like that, we bring a dish to share. Or even on Thanksgiving, we like practically bring our whole Thanksgiving meal with us. And that's the most challenging day of the year for me, because I've got to cook everything, like all the side items. And because if they have like corn, for instance, if the family,
Hmm.
they probably put butter in it, and we can't have butter.
Uh,
So, yeah, with the social events, we've got that down. And then traveling is another area. And we've learned, before a long haul flight, eat a huge meal. I mean, that's just the only way. Now, the longest flight we've ever been on is 16 hours. So that's a long time to go without food. So you have to make sure you pack lots of like fruit, snacks, and honestly, you can do it. You sleep a lot of the time anyway. They do have the meals. Most airlines will have vegan meals, but they're honestly very disgusting. And we have eaten them, and then our stomachs inevitably get wrecked. So we've
wow.
just gotten to where we don't even order them anymore. We just like say no thank you. And yeah. But you can bring like a small thing of oatmeal and just ask them for hot water and pour it in there. Or they have these little like soups you can buy that are pre-made, like a noodle soup or something like that, that's vegan,
Mm.
and you just ask them for hot water. So we've kind of learned those little tricks of the trade to get by. And obviously the whole eating properly, like for me being in menopause now, the protein has been so important to up that protein. So I've had to learn to adjust, because believe me, I could just live off of veggies. Like I mean, I love veggies so much.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
but I've learned I have to get that those primary sources of protein in most meals if I can. Now, for breakfast, I typically do smoothies. So I will do protein powder a lot of the times. So, and I know that's another hot topic out there right now, but, you know,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I would love to know more about, because I know you're really trying to educate and share a lot of information for women, especially over 40s. And, for me, I know I'm in perimenopause. I'm definitely sensing some symptoms. And I think I'm also struggling to eat more protein. Again, I love vegetable. I love fruit.
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
Yes.
I don't like protein.
I
I just
know. Yeah.
I just
That's
don't
this,
reach
I'm the
for them.
same. Yeah. I'm the same.
Yeah.
But I kind of like to create a connection here when you think of a baby, right? Because I have a grandson, and I was thinking just the other day, I was like, when you have a baby in front of you and trying to feed them new foods, a lot of times when you introduce something like green beans or whatever, a new food, they're like, oh, and then so our first instinct is, oh, my poor baby. I don't want to, like, I don't want to make
Right.
him suffer or whatever, or her suffer. So I'm not going to feed him that anymore. No, you don't want to do that. You want to like continue to reintroduce it because their taste buds will change and begin to be more receptive to it. So it's kind of the same thing with us. Like if we're used to eating very highly palatable foods like fried foods, salty foods, this and that, it's what we're going to want. But if you start to train your taste buds, just
Mhm.
start to eat those healthier options, then your taste buds will eventually change. And now, like when we drive up, sometimes I'll occasionally drive up to a drive-through. We have something called Chick-fil-A here. I don't know if some people will know what it is, but it's really popular here in the South. And I love their tea, their iced tea. I get it unsweet with a little bit of sweet or lemonade in it, something like that. But
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
occasionally I'll drive up and get it and pull up there, and it's like it hits me
Yeah.
like a brick, that smell, that fried oil smell. And I'm like, oh, when it used to smell so good, I used to love those waffle fries and all of that. But now it's like it repulses me.
Mm.
So it's funny. Our senses are it has so much play into what we eat, the taste, the texture, the smell. That's the whole like psychology thing that I think of as well when we get into that. But
Yeah. Because that's so incredibly interesting. When I know during our chat, we talked a little bit about the psychology and food. And you mentioned that, I mean, I cannot believe you're a grandmom. That still blows my mind. And I know that you babysit your grandbaby a couple days a week.
yes, yeah.
So, like, do you find it interesting to look at this human being so clean, right? That hadn't tasted any processed food, and you're basically priming your grandbaby to kind of appreciate whole food, good food. I mean, is that kind of like a different sort of an insight or a different lesson for you as
It
well?
is. Yeah, absolutely. And again, he's not mine. So whatever they choose to feed him at the end of the day. But if it was, when I think back to me raising my boys, oh, I wish I would have done some things differently. I did raise them vegetarian. Oldest son still is. And then my youngest son, he eats anything and everything. But
Mm-hmm.
it's funny the way that turned out. It does make me think, gosh, I wish I would have done things differently back then.
Mm-hmm.
Because yeah, I mean they're just basically, when you think about it, a virgin in a way to all the foods out there and what you choose to introduce them to, and the examples we are for them is so amazing as well. They watch everything. They watch how much we're on our phones. They just observe everything.
I mean, you mentioned that reaction, when the baby goes like, ooh, like they don't like green beans, but for adults, you don't model or be like, oh no, like then I'm never going to feed you that anymore. Kind of thinking back, what would you have done differently with your boys?
Overall, I did pretty good, but when you know better, you do better. And just with the whole cheese aspect, I never really had cow milk in the refrigerator. That we always had either soy milk or almond, well, almond milk wasn't really a thing back then. So it was really soy milk. Now there's so many milks out there, but I think I just would have cooked more fresh foods, honestly. I think I would just do more of what I'm doing now, and that's like bowls, kale and the grains and the veggies, just anything fresh food related. And that's funny because people ask us all the time, what exactly do you eat? And I'm like, oh, here we go again. I'm like, buckle your seatbelt because I'm about to talk forever. Just in a nutshell, we eat everything, like every cuisine you can imagine. That's one thing that I've learned on this journey is to be more adventurous when it comes to cuisines. Ethiopian, Greek, Mediterranean, Indian, Malaysian, every kind of Asian you can imagine. Yeah, I just wish I would have been a little bit more adventurous with my
Mm-hmm.
boys.
Right.
And it's funny because we go to this Thai restaurant here in town and we know the owner pretty well. And one day I just asked him, I'm like, can you answer a question for me? He's like, oh, sure, whatever. And I said, when do you like start feeding the kids this really spicy foods? I was just curious, like, do you wait till they're about 12 or whatever? He's like, oh, he goes, no, right away. We start feeding them we grow them in the garden and they eat them right away. And I was like, oh, I was like blown away because Thai food can be super spicy. And he's like, it's kind of like, the same thing. Cheese in America. You feed your little kids cheese, But I thought that was kind of interesting to me. What we choose to feed our kids, it really does matter because it shapes their whole adulthood. And that's going into the psychology of things. I do believe a lot of the foods we crave, a lot of the foods we want,
Mm.
it comes from our childhood a lot of the times because we equate that food with good memories. You think of all the holidays and, these foods do bring up very fond memories for a lot of us.
Absolutely. I mean, when I was feeding my daughter and she hated milk, she hated formula, just did not like milk. I had to start, I actually boiled cabbage and she loved chewing boiled cabbage with like
Wow.
absolutely, but I think she found it sweet because it has like a natural sweetness to it. And she would used to like eat just, I think it's codfish, just white fish, and just like a little bit, and she would just pick it up. And I find that, at the time, I really didn't put any pressure on, hey, she needs to taste this and taste that. She kind of picked what she wanted. And in retrospect, I should have just been a little bit more relaxed and not so rigid because I think at the time I put a lot of pressure on myself as well. Like I have to like make this beautiful baby food from all these different ingredients, but sometimes she would just keep rejecting it over and
Mm-hmm.
over again. And if I just give her cabbage and she's like totally happy,
Yeah.
and it took me like 5 minutes. As an adult, if we want to provide these different variety of food, but how do we approach that? Because I felt like, at
For
the time,
ourselves.
yeah, for ourselves, because I think, how we approach it also has a lot to do with how the baby they
Yeah,
can
for
feel
sure.
that, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And again, I think this all boils down to they watch everything and if they see us kind of like scouring at certain foods and that kind of thing, then they're going to be taking note of that and they're going to be like,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, well, if mom doesn't like this food, then I don't need to like that or whatever." So I think that if we can just be open to trying new foods, not be closed-minded when it comes and just be very adventurous, like enjoy food for what it is. There's so much good food out there. It's like I don't understand why would someone only want to eat like chicken and rice? There's so much good food out there, you know? But yeah, just to be a little more open and be a good example for them as well. But for us, just maybe if we are a little bit plant curious, maybe these are my suggestions to like go to the bookstore. I love bookstores. I like whenever I walk into a bookstore, I just hear the angels singing. I love bookstores. So I would recommend go to a bookstore, go to the
Mm-hmm.
vegan book cookbook section and kind of just
Mm-hmm.
grab a couple books. They're like, I have these books here. This is one like the plant-based diet for beginners. And it has pretty short like recipes in it. There's so many books out there, but I would just suggest look through them, buy one, because cookbooks got me through. Number one, you're not on the screen, because believe me, there's so much out there here. I mean, I put recipes out there as well, so I don't want to like undersell myself, but cookbooks are like a physical cookbook is just so nice. It gets you away from the screen and there are beautiful photographs in there.
Yeah. I mean, I actually remembered that you shared a different kind of pasta, kind of like substitute, macaroni like substitute, right? You do a lot of these like digital recipe as well. And I think they're absolutely amazing. But I do have to ask you, okay, so I'm someone that falls between loving to cook and loving to go out. I don't love cooking. Like it's not my
Yeah.
passion. I just
Yeah.
say it's not my passion, but I'm willing to do it just because I don't like eating out all the time because it's hard to control what they use, the oil, the everything, right? So what would be like a good kind of a midway?
I tell you, ever since I started watching my grandson Mondays and Fridays, I've lost a lot of time, and I've gained a lot of positive time because I get to spend with him, but I've
Right,
lost a lot
right.
of time to have that extra time to cook the beautiful meals that I enjoy cooking. So a lot of my meals these days have shifted to really quick things. For instance, like usually a go-to for me is like some type of stir fry because you can pull together rice really quick. You can get frozen stir fry veggies and then get your seitan tofu. And I use the air fryer a lot for that because I just cut them in little cubes. I do some kind of marinade, stick them in there. And then while that's doing that, I'm like, I've got my rice and the veggies going. And it comes together in about 30 minutes. And then the other thing you can do is pre-prep a lot of things at the beginning of the week and just do bowls. So you can prep like some root veggies, like roast them. You can prep your grains, you can prep your greens, and then you just throw everything in a bowl and eat it with a good little sauce or whatever. So that seems to be kind of the go-to lately to keep things simple. And soups, like I did one the other day, a lentil soup that was just really good. And it lasted me for like 4 meals. Those are my ideas for quick. Now, going out to eat can be, I don't want to call it healthy, but you can make it a little healthier by choosing like Vietnamese, for instance. They have the pho, and that's always a good choice because it's broth with veggies, noodles, and yeah. Is it a little more oil laden than we would do at home? Maybe, but still it's a better choice than like a burger and fries. you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I love these idea because I always find that I think when we wanted to commit to cooking, I think for a lot of people they think that it needs to be perfect.
hmm
But it really doesn't have to be. I think it's whatever that's easy and it's sustainable. For me, it's all about if I have less washing to do, like less
Yes.
cleaning,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'll do it.
I know. Yeah, that's the beautiful thing about those one pot meals or something you can do in the oven because it's basically just one, thing that you're messing up. I kind of want to get more into that and share because I know people are busy. It's not only busyness, it's money. Like here in America, so many people, even if you make a good salary, it's tough. I mean, your grocery bill is your most expensive bill for everybody. It really tugs at my heart in a way because I know that there's struggling families out there and food is so important. I mean, our
Yeah.
body needs healthy food and
Well, since the holiday is coming up, and you did mention that every time you do go to your family, you kind of bring everything. I'm so curious, what are the go-to kind of holiday meals for you that's vegan and that you get to, share with others who are not vegan, but they like it equally?
yeah, yeah, for sure. I would say Thanksgiving is a big one here. Thanksgiving is usually like typically turkey and all the side items. In the years past, we would buy a pre-made like turkey roast. This year, I'm going to try making my own. And actually, a lot of people eat that. So that's 5 of us that will eat that.
Sure.
And then I make stuffing. So I make my version of that. It doesn't have eggs in it or anything, and it's so good. And I use veggie broth in it instead of chicken broth. And also like the pumpkin pie, I'll do my version. And yeah, Christmas, my family typically does some type of Italian. So I'll make like a lasagna
Mm,
instead of doing the ricotta cheese, I'll use either a tofu base that I make to taste like ricotta cheese, or even I've put hummus in there before and it's really good.
yeah, it sounds really good. I mean, I was going to ask, but you mentioned pumpkin pie, like dessert wise. Are there
Yeah, yeah, apple pie, pumpkin pie. Yeah,
basically you would use like non-dairy milk as
yeah, I
substitute, right?
use coconut milk.
Oh,
and
okay.
it gives it such a nice flavor. That coconut with the pumpkin, I use the canned coconut, so full fat.
Yeah.
Again,
Right.
I'm breaking away from my healthy side of things, but at the end of the day, it's 80-20. Yeah, and believe me, I'm not perfect when it comes to nutrition. We do have treats, we do have desserts, but I think it's important to note, as long as you're eating healthy most of the time
Mm-hmm.
and doing your working out. I don't want to minimize movement, how important that is. Especially, you mentioned going into perimenopause. Those
Mm-hmm.
changes are going to start happening. And I kind of like to equate it to a car. We spend a lot of money on a car, right? If you're smart, you're going to take care of that car. And the older it gets, the more important it's going to get to feed it properly with the good gas, the good oil. Like, your oil needs change as your car gets older. You do the regular maintenance and the checkups, just like we need to do. We need to fuel ourselves properly if we want to live a long, healthy life
Right.
as
Right.
long as possible.
This is kind of a question that I've always wondered about because in my life, I've met a lot of people who are vegetarian and vegan, but I always find that they are the people that I would call very resourceful,
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
We've learned. Yes. We have become extra resourceful.
Do you think that carries through the other aspect of your life as well?
Yeah, I think so. I think that when you make a choice to live a certain lifestyle, because I don't call this a diet, I call it more of a
Yeah.
lifestyle. When you make a conscious choice, whatever your reasoning, whether it's religious, whether it's compassion, whether it's health, maybe it's all of them, you learn to become more I think it does carry over for sure into your work, into your relationships. Yeah, for 100%. We've learned to become more resourceful, more adventurous, because when growing up, my mom like cooked a lot from home, but it was mainly a lot of the same things that she learned to eat when she was a kid. So it was a lot of the Southern kind of foods and, these kinds of things. So it was never really, let's go get Ethiopian for dinner, or let's go to the Indian restaurant, or, so we have definitely learned to be more adventurous. And I'm out of my side of the family, I'm definitely the most adventurous one when it comes to food, for sure.
Yeah. Just like what you said, you're very resourceful and also you get curious, right? You want to be
Hmm.
more creative with your taste buds. Have you found like you have, because you mentioned like a kind of a different, your heightened sense of smell. Do you like certain smell better or like, kind of
I
try to
think
stay
just,
away from certain things?
yeah, I mean, from the aversion side of things, greasy foods I can't take. It's just like, oh, when you walk
Yeah.
into a restaurant like that, it's like, it's funny to me because a lot of people would walk into a place like that and be like, oh, this smells so amazing,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
yeah. Now, we did pick up barbecue for a neighbor. Our neighbor was having some health issues and we wanted to bring him something. And we knew they liked the Southern whatever. So we walked into this barbecue restaurant here that's really popular. And that's one thing I used to eat as a kid, interestingly enough. And I walked in there and I was like, I know this is meat, but it smells really good. So I don't know. It's weird. But what I would do if I craved something like that, I would probably cut some tofu in slices. And I've done this before actually. And I rub it with like a steak rub, like it's vegan. It's just spices that you would rub on a steak. So I rub it on the tofu. I score it kind of like, and then so the seasonings get down in it and brush it with like a barbecue sauce and then put it in the oven, and it's so good. I actually did that for 4th of July. Yeah, there's ways and means when you do. I think just in general, my sense of smell is just more fine-tuned now. I'm just more sensitive to things. Yeah, it's interesting.
I've heard about that from a lot of my friends. And speaking of barbecue, my favorite barbecue, those really juicy big mushroom. Yeah.
I'm a mushroom fanatic. I love mushrooms. And I do want to mention too, and I know I mentioned in our previous chat that I don't judge people like if they want to eat meat. I used to eat meat, it's like I don't wanna judge people for their choices. Do I wanna be a light and encourage people and inspire people to eat more veggies? 100%. In a perfect world, I would love it if nobody harmed animals and this and that. But at the end of the day, that's my choice, and again, we all make our own choices, and I do respect that, so
We really need that, and I think that's a really beautiful thing. And I think we talked a little bit about that. There are certain people that I've met in my life that they will tend to kind of go into this like long speech about you shouldn't eat this. Whatever you're ordering, you shouldn't eat that. And I think it's such a pity because, I think everyone, if you just share with, and in true compassion, you just share your food, like share again, like what you make and shared, pumpkin pie or apple pie that's vegan, they get to just taste it. They don't need a whole lecture. And then they're more willing to accept it. Yeah, again, like no one likes to be lectured.
yeah, just like, we wouldn't wanna impose our beliefs on someone else. Now, if they asked us, again, buckle in your seatbelts because we're going to give you the whole story. Yeah. But we're not going to like push it. We're not going to be the crusaders. And I just want to be a light and a good example
Yeah.
and eat more veggies. Yeah,
Yeah.
eat more
No.
veggies. That's at the end of the day the important thing because nutrition is everything. And also, I'm a health plant-based nutrition specialist. I'm not a registered dietitian, and I do like to remind people about that. Like, if you have health problems, if you have anything going on, you want to refer to a registered dietitian. There's so much out there on social media, people trying to push this or push that, like this supplement or that supplement. I just remind people to be very cautious where you're getting your information and do your research and talk to your doctor, refer to your registered dietitian, especially if you have health problems. Now, I mean, I will recommend like generally recommended supplements like B12, vitamin D3, omega 3. These are generally recommended for the whole population. But anything beyond that, if people are trying to get you to take anything beyond those three things, I would highly recommend to do your own research. And yeah, but health coaches are great. I'm one of them. I don't want to diminish my role because we are very good at what we do. We encourage people, we motivate, we give recipe ideas, we can educate you all day long. But yeah, your registered dietitians are the ones that will help if you have health problems. So I did want to throw that in there while we were on here because I think it's an important message. So,
Right. And I'm really curious, what is the one biggest trend on social media now that you just kind
oh,
of roll your eyes?
yeah. Yeah. Wow. I think there's so much that I just shake my head so much on. I think creatine is a big one. I'm not 100% on board with creatine supplementation at this point. I don't think there's enough scientific evidence out there for me, my personal thing. Our bodies do produce creatine on its own, and you can supplement it. At the end of the day, I don't know. It's not 100%. I'm not convinced. And then the other thing is those weighted vests that people are doing. I think they can be good, but again, there's not enough evidence out there for me. So I just think that we have to be mindful about when we do see something being pushed, look for those randomized controlled trials and clinical tests if you are a nerd like me, and not just one that has 30 participants. You want to look for long studies that have done over a long time with thousands of people. I don't know. It's a tough because there's so many influencers out there, and that's one thing you won't see me doing. I vowed to myself that I will never push things on products and things like that. I want to just be a light and inspiration for people. It's kind of my passion. It's not my full-time job. I don't do this. It's kind of like my hobby on the side, and my mission, so to speak, is to just provide good example to people so to eat healthier.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
those are excellent information to have. And I definitely agree. I think there's so many trends and there's so many different supplements, like just too many, because we never have enough time to even dig into the studies that's behind it. And sometimes a lot of studies are actually really not clear, especially when it comes to like reading the study. I think it's difficult. Like you need to train yourself to read
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
studies. Yeah.
One trick with those is you can always read the little abstract. It's like read the little abstract if you don't want to dig into the whole thing. And then there's a lot of times a conclusion at the end
Mm.
that'll sort of wrap everything up. So if you don't necessarily want to read the whole study, you can like go to the abstract and then the conclusion at the end. That's usually my trick with those. But I think at the end of the day, we need to be mindful and refer to our doctors, like,
Mm.
and our
Yeah.
registered dietitians, because they are highly trained in these areas and they will give you better advice than some random person on the internet. Those are my thoughts. But, and again, and people, that's the other thing, talking about supplements, people are like, I don't want to be vegan because they don't get everything they need. Well, why is the supplement industry so big? It's not for us 1% vegan. It's like the supplement industry is big because everybody's taking supplements, and everyone should to a degree. Everybody should be supplementing and eating your fortified foods
Hmm.
because we need our fortified milk. It has extra ingredients that are so important for us and our bone development. And there's no way anyone can get all of the nutrients they need from food. I mean, I guess there is a way, but who has time to plan their diet that perfectly? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's like before we met, I find that when I say 1%, it's true. In America, vegans are like 1% of the population. You guys are lucky over there because I think India and Asia are like much higher, like 9%, maybe 10. But I find that interesting. I wish there could be a culture shift to at least be a little bit more open to us weird people.
I mean, yes, like you said, I think I grew up knowing older women who turned vegetarian when they get older. I don't know why. I mean, I think a part of it's religious reason, and part of it, I think it's they just don't love digesting meat as much, and so naturally they just choose, vegan or vegetarian meals. So it's actually quite accessible here. But one thing that I found is that actually when I was in Canada for high school, I went to this restaurant and they served like vegetarian sandwich with tofu. And that is not something I see back here, like when I was little, like the vegetarian dishes that I would see. I actually
Hmm.
love the westernized vegetarian
Yeah,
food
yeah,
much
exactly.
better because it's whole food. Like you can
Hmm.
see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to this day, I think I still believe in that. So I very much enjoy the vegetarian food that I can get in
Mhm.
the States. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So when over there, I'm just kind of curious when the women do decide to go vegetarian, like what do they typically eat? Is it this traditional stir fries and things typically what they go to or
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of these supermarket or I would call grocery stores. They sell completely vegan food and they have a lot of these sauces. So like sauce would be like a big thing because again, like I think in Chinese food or Taiwanese food, like having something marinated and like a good base of sauce is really important. Soup is really important.
yes.
So having ton of different spices, that's
Hmm.
really important as well. So we have a lot of those prepped, ready to go.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
they can just, throw in any veggie, but like use that broth or sauce to kind of give it more of a taste. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. And for people, the vegan, when you choose to go this whole foods route, the sauces and marinades are really important because plain tofu, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, it's not the best. So you do have to learn some little tricks of the trade. Seitan, like that's a thing. Like people are like, "Ooh, I don't want tofu." But the thing is, it's just like chicken. It's going to absorb whatever the tofu, the tempeh, the seitan will absorb whatever you cook it in. And I know we talked a little bit about sauces last time. I don't like my food doused in sauces. I'm more of like a drizzle kind of person. I just like a little bit. I don't want it to be swimming unless it's like a
Hmm.
curry that's more of a thick broth type thing. I don't mind that. But yeah, so sauces are an important part. Yeah, so it is an important part for us is the way we eat. But yeah, no, the burgers, the vegetarian veggie burgers and all those Americanized ones, they are actually so good.
They are so
I
good.
do agree.
Yeah. I mean, I love talking about food with you. I feel like there's so much more we can cover. And I really do suggest that everyone just go check out your page because you offered a lot of really great resource and just easy recipes. And again, like I cannot stress enough, easy is so important.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm actually currently working on a project and I hope to have it done by the first of the year. And it's for families like, say they have a teenager that comes home or a preteen and they were like me, because this is kind of how this was born, is out of my journey. And they're like me and they're like, Mom, I don't want to eat animals anymore. And then the parents are like, oh no, what am I going to do? What I'm creating is like a resource for people. It's going to be a resource for people to make dinner time easy, available for everyone. Like, as in, it's easy for, let's piece this together and just take what you want. So it's going to be a lot of ideas for that. Going to be have recipes and information, kind of a little bit of my backstory and why the book. So anyway, I'm kind of working on that behind the scenes. I'm excited. So hopefully I'll have that ready soon. And
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, no, Everglo Wellness is my Instagram, and I'd love for you to join me on my journey to all those
Yeah.
listeners out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, to wrap things up, I love to hear your definition of soft power. And I know you have it ready
I do.
weeks ago.
I do. Yeah. It's funny at work, we have this thing called the pink pencil. And basically it means like you are like, when somebody asks you something, you're like on it. You're like, you get it done. And so so I'm like, yeah, I had mine ready weeks ago. It actually came to me really quick. I did mull over it for a couple weeks and I had to tweak it a little bit because I wanted it to be my definition, like for me, like what I think it is. And I'm going to read it. It's 2 sentences, so it's quick. So, soft power is a humble confidence that radiates compassion, strength, and grace. It enables us to walk through life with a glow that is both empowering and contagious. So, that's it.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I do believe like we can show compassion while having strength and be graceful about it. Because I always think about the royal family and how like they're just so graceful and how they're not harsh people. And so that's kind of how I've always been, is not saying I'm a royal person, but I'm talking like from a kind of gentle perspective, just to show grace to people, to not be judgmental. But yeah, just I think we can inspire others. We can have like a glow from within. And that's kind of where my name for my Instagram
Yeah.
came from. It came to me in the shower, actually. Of all the places, my best
All
ideas
good
come. Yeah,
ideas. Yep.
but yeah, I'm like Everglow, thinking like we can glow for our remaining years. Like we can be a light to people as long as possible. Just because you're getting old doesn't mean you can't inspire others. But yeah, that's my
So,
definition. So,
oh, that's so beautiful and it embodies you perfectly.
oh, thank you.
I cannot wait for the project that you're working on right now. I'll definitely ask you about that and update everyone on this platform. I just wanted to say thank you so much for sharing all the insight about food. I'm hungry now because we've
I
been
know.
talking about food for
Yeah,
an hour.
I know.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, yeah. I had really fun, and I'm again honored. It's so exciting for me, and you're doing amazing things, and I just can't wait to see where you go as well.
Oh, thank you.